This is Michael Fox, and this is the Prospector News Podcast. And joining me today, we have John Lee, the CEO and Executive Chairman of the FlyingNickel Mining Company. Welcome aboard, John.
Thank you, Michael. Good to be on your show.
I'm excited to talk to you. I'm a Manitoba boy, and I'm very familiar with the Thompson nickel belt where you guys are. But for the sake of my listeners who may not be familiar with the FlyingNickel Mining Company, let's give them the 20,000 foot elevator pitch on who the company is.
Yeah, I think first of all, Michael, I'm the CEO and founder of FlyingNickel. The company went public just a year ago, and I have over 20 years of experience in the mining industry. The first 10 years as an investor, and I was doing pretty well until 2011. After sort of recovery of the financial crisis, I thought it was kind of it'd be fun to run a junior mining company as a hobby that started out. And it turned into a 13-year double full-time job to where we are today. We have raised over $150 million in the market myself for junior companies. And my specialization, Michael, is nickel. I've followed the nickel market for the last 15 years and acquired several nickel projects ahead, many years ago in Yukon, in Manitoba, in Sudbury. In particularly, my favorite was this Minago project, which I was fortunate to acquire in 2021 and then went public in 2022. And the reason is Minago is the Thompson nickel belt, as you have said, and Thompson nickel belt is the second largest nickel camp in North America with 5 billion pounds of historical nickel production, only second to Sudbury, and is actually ahead of Voisey's Bay. And Minago, the project I liked about it is a couple of reasons. I think first, it's an open pit optimized project with the resource of 1 billion pounds of nickel in the ground, grading at 0.74% nickel. And really quickly, Michael, 0.74% nickel open pit optimized in North America used to be the norm 10 years ago. But because of lack of investment in the nickel mining, that the current nickel head grades of open pit project in North America, Canada, is around 0.4, and that number is expected to drop to below 0.25 by 2028. So that really put Minago already today above and beyond its peers in terms of grades, and that would be 3 times tripling the grades of other mines that are nickel that are open pit by 2028. And then the other couple of things I like about Minago is that, as you know, Thompson is 99% hydropowered. So if you're talking about the green mandate and care about climate change, and having these batteries going into electric vehicles, there's no better source for nickel than nickel coming out of Manitoba. Potentially, Minago, once getting into production, to be the lowest carbon footprint nickel operation in the world, and that will be ideally suited for electric vehicles. So first of all, it's high grade, open pit. Secondly, it's green, and then third is the project's over $40 million investment put into it, including a historical feasibility study, 80,000 meters of drilling, and we're on the verge of getting this project permitted. We already received the green light from the First Nation, which we're going to talk about a bit later. But the Manitoba government, given that we have already received the blessing from the First Nations, is going to expedite the review of the issuance of the environmental ag license. And that is the final piece of paper permit that we need to make a construction decision and break the grounds of this very exceptional, unique project, Michael.
That's definitely an exciting time for your company. Now, there's been other operators on this property. How did it evolve to get to the point where it came into your company's hands?
Yeah, Michael, if you've been around the industry for more than a couple of decades as I have, I personally invested in maybe over 50, maybe close to 100 junior companies. As I mentioned to you, my first decade of my career was investing in the junior mining space. Everything's all about timing. And the company does not generate cash. It's an exploration development stage company. So it has to rely on the capital market to continue its operation. Unfortunately, Michael, because of the lack of investment, because nickel prices been in the consolidation doldrum for more than 15 years, and been oscillating between $4 a pound and $12 a pound, and you really need about $15 a pound to make a go at it. So there wasn't a lot of money or investment being poured into the nickel junior market. So the project Minago was discovered actually back in the late 1980s. It's been through 6 different operators, and it's just a matter of the CEO weren't able to finance the company. There weren't enough skin in the game, and now we were very, very fortunate to have grabbed this project. We paid $15 million in 2021, and then the market cap went to 100 in 2022. And funny enough, Michael, we're back to $15 million. That just shows you the volatility of upside and the risks associated with the mining company. And unfortunately, there's a lot of hearts broken, a lot of shares got cleaned, and crisis came opportunity. And we are I was so extremely happy to acquire this project. I outbidded everybody, literally, on the fly, and still pitching myself to this day that we're owning and operating this project, Michael.
Yeah, well, it's if been in the mining industry, I've been doing this now for 21 years. You see a lot of tears over those times, and
Yes.
and dreams dashed. But it's right project, right place at the right time can do a lot of wonderful things. Now, you guys are still drilling the project. You guys have had some really exceptional drill results in your last round of assays. Can you tell me about those?
Right. The project was well advanced, as I mentioned, with $40 million and close to 86,000 meters drilling. So we don't really need to drill, even though there's a lot of exploration potential, but the billion pound of nickel in the ground is already at a feasibility stage in terms of drill density. What happened, Michael, was last year, as we proceeded to develop the project and update the feasibility study and did a round of maiden drilling for FlyingNickel itself, since we acquired it, we noticed that there's a lot of PGM, platinum palladium assays, came out of the ground of our drill holes. So we're scratching our back and our heads as to what the hell happened, because there weren't a lot of references to PGM for Minago. Minago is not known for its PGM. It's only mostly known for its nickel. So it turned out that as we reviewed the database of all the historical drill holes, that only 20% of the drill holes were assayed for PGM. Maybe because nickel prices were high in 2011, 2010, when nickel was 20, and the operator was busy developing, putting a nickel mine into production, or maybe because even earlier, it was before the advent of catalytic converters, that there were really not a lot of emphasis in the late 80s in platinum and palladium. Whatever the reasons, it is a big void of which it could be a very significant byproduct. So what we're doing now is we're not drilling per se, but rather we are analyzing the drill database and going into the core shack and taking out representative sample cores that had not been assayed for PGM, and we're assaying for PGM. So we're taking out around 10% of the past cores, around 7,000 meters, to assay for PGM, in conjunction with another sort of 20% that had already been assayed for PGM. All in all, Sal, we're pretty confident of coming up with a maiden platinum palladium resource to complement and to complete the feasibility study to make sure that is reflective of the project's true potential.
That's definitely wonderful news. It's always good when you can find more value out of the same drills. It's a lot cheaper than having to drill new holes. So that's fantastic. And again, both of those items, those are green energy tech items. And there was a reference on your website that I really liked when you were talking about how this was going to power the new green economy. I believe the figure was there was enough nickel in your mine to create, was it 10 million Teslas?
Enough to go into 10 million batteries of Tesla 3s. So our mine is enough to fuel about 3 years worth of Tesla production today.
That's a big win, especially as the movement towards more electric vehicles on the road come, because you and I both know that the biggest roadblock there is getting the minerals for these batteries.
Just real quick on that. Nickel is the standards for high performance EV batteries. And that's why Elon Musk 5 years ago talked about mining as much nickel. And if you can mine nickel responsibly, Elon's going to give you a giant fat contract And since then, you have the Volkswagen, you have Porsche, and several different manufacturers that have standardized on what they call the MNC 11. And that's nickel, manganese, and cobalt, of which nickel is 80% of the battery's cathode. This trend is going to continue for at least next 10 years. How do we know? We've been talking to several auto manufacturers who share their roadmaps with us, and they're looking for nickel supply from 2030 to 2035. So nickel is here to stay, and it's not just sort of fundamental optics. If you look at what happened to the nickel price this time last year, Michael, nickel emphatically broke out of that consolidation, decade-low consolidation between $5 to $10. Once it broke out at $10, it went to $50. But subsequently had to retrace its gain back to right now it's around 11, which makes an ideal entry point. Because what used to be an insurmountable resistance now is a very strong technical support. And from here on, we see a lot of upset on nickel. You're seeing some of the Trafigura encountered a $750 million fraud when they thought they bought nickel. It turned out to be bags of sands. So there are very strong indications that the fundamentals for nickel is only going to become more bullish as time goes on, and that the technical trends also indicated so. And on a conservative basis of EV penetration to 30 to 40% 3 years to 4 years from now, it's going to spell double the amount of nickel demand in the market. And right now, nickel year to year production is down, not up. So Michael, we are up all the metals out there besides the precious metals. I'm most bullish of nickel over all the base metals.
Yeah, well, nickel goes into a lot of this green technology, and we're in deficit already. And as more and more of the green technology comes online, that deficit's only going to grow unless we come on with projects like yours. So ESG is also becoming a crucial part of the equation for mining companies. Now, you've addressed the environmental arm of the ESG with the fact that you're located in the Thompson nickel belt, where all the electric power is hydroelectric, and you're going to have the one of the greenest mines on the planet that'll be developing the nickel. But tell me more about your relationship with the Norway House Cree, because the social buy-in is also crucial to banks and large institutional funders funding formulas with ESG.
Michael, we put very strong emphasis on ESG. It's not only because it's required, but it's good business practice, and it spells for longevity of our operation. ESG spells for environmental, social, and governance. From an environmental standpoint, the project's hydropowered. It is a sulphide project. It's not laterite. It doesn't have acidic draining tailings like it doesn't have to be heated. It's a very conventional flotation device. It's as environmentally friendly as it could be. In terms of social governance, we have fostered in the just the last 2 years a very strong bond with the Norway House Cree Nation. Minago's claims are entirely sitting on the exclusive First Nations exclusive national territory of Norway House, and met with the Norway House Chief Anderson in September. We toured their community. It's one of the top 10 First Nation community in all of Canada. It's a very innovative, very hardworking First Nations group, and we're very fortunate to be working with the group that is very forward-looking and create additional job opportunities. At the same time, looking to reshape and then helping with the climate change. And last but not least is governance. The company also places very important emphasis on governance. So, for example, Cree Nation will have the right to nominate a director on the FlyingNickel board, and the company is working hand in hand with the government of Manitoba from environmental, from technical, and also from social aspects to make sure that we are in full compliance with the rules and regulations and all the ESG requirements. We're going to be, Michael, before said and done, this is going to be the most forefront ESG compliant nickel mining company in the world, given that Canada is one of the most ESG sort of advanced countries in the world.
Yeah, win-win. Definitely, our mining practices are being adopted all over the world. because we are good at what we do. So what's the future prospects for the company? What's coming up in the next 12 months as far as activity?
Oh, Michael, sometimes sometimes if you don't do anything, the stock goes crazy, right? Like it was this time last year. We're high-fiving. Stock is $1.40, and now we're trading at 14 cents, a 10. The current valuation is 20% of the money that had gone into the project. It is lower than FlyingNickel had acquired the project 2 years ago, and it's trading at it's trading at something like less than 2 cents a pound of nickel in the ground. We're very excited about the future prospect, even though the share price is not reflective of that. But we're going to be very patient. We believe the pendulum is going to swing the other way. But in short, the construction decision, we believe, is going to be rendered by this time of next year. So all the permits, government, all the various different permits will be. We're looking to have them acquired by this time next year. The project's feasibility study will be completed by incorporating the PGM element to that, which is going to be just additional byproduct credit that will enhance the economics of the project. And then we're looking to commission this mine to be possibly the greenest project in all over the world for nickel. And the company's in very active discussion with more than half a dozen strategic players, from battery manufacturers to auto manufacturers, strategic off-takers. So, I mean, there's a lot of happening beneath the surface. We're going to complete our PGM assay program, and we've got about 3 more batches of PGM assays to come. If nothing else, the shareholders in the weeks to come would expect additional sets of very exciting PGM assays that's gonna be disclosed, and that's going to be shared with the investment community and remind the investment community of the glories the project has been through, and that this company is very committed and serious about bringing this project to its rightful conclusion, which is production for the decades and generations to come. Michael.
That's a wonderful thing. It's great to hear projects that have a clear path to being greenlit and to be so environmentally sensitive with good social buy-in. So this sounds like a winner. Is there anything else that the listeners should know about the company that we didn't cover?
Look us up, Michael, FlyingNickel.com. We're trading FLYN, FLYN, over-the-counter FLYNF. In terms of our share structure, right now there are about 70 million shares outstanding, trading at around 18 cents, so just under $15 million Canadian market cap. We have a very strong institution support by the name of Blackstone, and they're a nickel developer in Vietnam, and also Sparta Institution from Germany. They each own around 10% on a partially diluted basis. And we have also other institutions, insider collectively own over half of the share structure. The company raised just over $1 million, just close to $1 million only last month. So we are fully funded to complete our PGM programs, and then and potentially towards the end of the year to making a construction decision. So I highly recommend your audience check us out, especially if you're into energy metals and nickel, and looking for a way to gain leverage to the inevitables of adaptation of the EV revolution that's coming.
Perfect. If they have any specific questions to ask you, how would they get a hold of you?
You can Twitter me at John Lee, FlyingNickel, or John Lee Silver Elephant. So I'm pretty active on Twitter, or just send me an email at jlee@FlyingNickel.com.
Wonderful. Thanks very much for joining me, John, and I look forward to seeing how this project rolls out.
Hey, terrific. Thank you for your time. Let's talk again soon.
You bet. Flying Nickel Mining Company is a paid sponsor of the Prospector News. The Prospector News podcast is for educational purposes only. The opinions expressed are those of the participants and are not to be taken as investment advice. Listeners need to do their own due diligence and seek advice of a licensed investment advisor.